Savannah Guthrie, the trusted voice that has awakened America for over a decade, has interviewed presidents, covered tragedies, and delivered breaking news to millions of viewers every morning. At 54, she sits in one of the most prestigious chairs in broadcast journalism as co-anchor of NBC's Today Show. But what happens when the woman who asks the tough questions must face devastating answers in her own life? When the journalist who brings clarity to chaos discovers that her own body can betray her without warning? This is the heartbreaking truth about Savannah Guthrie, a story of medical emergencies that nearly stole her sight, of balancing motherhood in her 40s while anchoring America's most watched morning show, of fertility struggles that brought her to her knees, and of sudden losses that happened in plain view of millions. The world sees the polished professional with the reassuring smile and razor-sharp intellect. But behind that composure lies a story not glamorous, but brutal, filled with moments when everything hung by a thread, when her vision literally went dark, and when the career she'd sacrificed everything for almost cost her everything that mattered. If Savannah Guthrie has ever made you feel informed, comforted, or inspired during those early morning hours, hit like as tribute to her grace under pressure and relentless dedication. This is the story of a woman who nearly lost her eyesight twice while millions watched, who became a mother through heartbreak and hope, and who smiled through personal tragedy while the cameras never stopped rolling. This is her untold story. December 27, 1971, Savannah Clark Guthrie was born in Melbourne, Australia, where her father, Charles Guthrie, was stationed as a U.S. Army officer. Her beginning was marked not by stability, but by constant movement and upheaval. Military life meant never planting roots, always leaving, always starting over. By age 2, the family relocated to Tucson, Arizona, where the desert heat replaced Australian beaches. But the real fracture came when her parents divorced during her childhood. Savannah watched her mother, Nancy, navigate single parenthood with quiet determination and no safety net. There was no privilege, no connections, no shortcuts. Her mother worked tirelessly, instilling in Savannah a work ethic that bordered on obsessive. School became Savannah's refuge and weapon. She excelled academically, finding power in preparation and perfection. At Amphitheater High School in Tucson, she discovered journalism, the craft that would define her existence, but the path forward was murky and uncertain. She attended University of Arizona, graduating in 1993 with a degree in journalism, then made a shocking pivot that confused everyone who knew her. Law school. Savannah enrolled at Georgetown University Law Center in Washington, D.C., graduating with her Juris Doctor in 2002 at age 30. For years, she practiced constitutional law at a prestigious firm, earning a solid income, but feeling a gnawing emptiness. The courtroom wasn't where she belonged. The newsroom was. At 30, with a law degree and no broadcast experience, she made the terrifying decision to abandon legal security for journalism's chaos. No guarantees, no connections, just raw ambition and the willingness to start from zero. Most people thought she was insane, that she thought she was finally alive. 2000, to mark the beginning of Savannah's broadcast journey, she joined Court TV as a legal analyst and correspondent, leveraging her law background to cover high-profile trials. The pay was modest, approximately $75,000 annually, a significant drop from her legal salary. But she was on camera. Finally, the hours were punishing, the competition was vicious, the mistakes were public and permanent. 2004 brought the breakthrough. NBC News hired her as a legal analyst. The big leagues, but not the spotlight. Not yet. For 3 years, she worked behind the scenes, covering trials, filing reports, learning the brutal craft of television journalism. Then came 2007. NBC promoted her to national correspondent and co-anchor of the 9 a.m. hour of Today. She was 35 years old and finally gaining traction. Her legal expertise made her invaluable during the 2008 presidential election, where she covered both campaigns relentlessly. 2011 brought the moment that would define her career. NBC named Savannah Guthrie co-anchor of Today, replacing Curry in a controversial transition. She was 40 years old, The salary jumped to approximately $7 million annually, a staggering transformation from her court TV days. But the position came with crushing pressure. Today was bleeding viewers to ABC's Good Morning America. The Curry departure had sparked backlash. Savannah inherited a sinking ship and was expected to save it while appearing effortlessly graceful. Every interview mattered. Every word was scrutinized. Every smile analyzed. She interviewed President Barack Obama, President Donald Trump, Pope Francis, and countless world leaders. By 2017, her salary had climbed to approximately $8 million per year. In 2023, she signed a contract extension reportedly worth $10 million annually, making her one of the highest-paid anchors. In broadcast news, the girl from Tucson who'd started over at 30 had reached the summit. But success doesn't shield you from biology, accidents, or grief, and all three were coming for her. 2014 should have been pure joy. Savannah, at 42, married Michael Feldman, a political communications consultant, in a beautiful ceremony in Tucson, Arizona on March 15, 2014. But behind the wedding photos was a painful truth. Savannah desperately wanted children, and time was running out. She'd spent her 30s building a career, sacrificing personal life for professional achievement. Now, in her 40s, biology was unforgiving. She struggled with fertility, month after month of disappointment, treatments, hope, heartbreak. Then, on August 13, 2014, Savannah announced on Today that she'd welcomed a daughter, Savannah Guthrie Feldman, via surrogate. The joy was real, but so was the complexity of emotions. Gratitude mixed with grief for the pregnancy she couldn't carry herself. She returned to work almost immediately, anchoring Today while navigating postpartum emotions for a child she hadn't physically delivered. The judgment was swift and brutal. Too old to have kids, too career-focused. Not a real mother because she used a surrogate. Savannah absorbed it all while smiling through 4 a.m. wake-up calls and breaking news. But then came 2016, and an unexpected miracle. At 44, Savannah became pregnant naturally with her son, Charles Max Feldman, born on December 8, 2016. The world celebrated, but the reality was terrifying. A pregnancy at 44 carried enormous risks. She continued anchoring through morning sickness, exhaustion, and anxiety, hiding her fear behind professional polish. Charlie arrived healthy, and Savannah seemed to have it all. Then came November 27, 2019, Thanksgiving Eve. Savannah was playing with 2-year-old Charlie in their kitchen. Normal morning chaos. Toys everywhere. In a single instant, Charlie threw a toy train that struck Savannah directly in her right eye. The pain was immediate and blinding. She knew instantly something was catastrophically wrong. An emergency ophthalmologist visit confirmed her worst nightmare. A torn retina. Without immediate surgery, she would lose vision in that eye permanently. On Thanksgiving Day, 2019, while America carved turkeys, Savannah underwent emergency retinal surgery. The recovery was brutal. Strict bed rest, complete darkness, no movement, for a woman whose identity was constant motion and relentless productivity. The forced stillness was psychological torture. She missed Today. She missed her children. She lived in fear that the surgery had failed. Weeks passed. Slowly, her vision returned. The surgery was successful, but the trauma lingered, a constant awareness of fragility. Then, June 11, 2020, during the COVID-19 pandemic, catastrophe struck again. Savannah was working from home, broadcasting from her backyard, trying to maintain normalcy in chaos. She reached for something, and a tree branch struck her face. The same eye. The same devastating pain. Another torn retina. Lightning striking twice. This time, the terror was deeper because she knew exactly what was coming. Another surgery. Another recovery. Another period of darkness and uncertainty. She shared her ordeal on Today. Her voice steady, but her eyes revealing the fear beneath. "I feel like we've all got to give ourselves a break right now," she said, fighting tears. What few people know is the psychological aftermath. The constant fear that one wrong movement could end her career and her ability to see her children's faces. The guilt of being unavailable to Vale and Charlie during recoveries. the burden of smiling for millions while privately terrified. And there was more heartbreak, quieter but no less devastating. November 29, 2017. Savannah had to address the nation about her co-anchor Matt Lauer's firing for sexual misconduct. On live television, her voice shaking, she said, "We are devastated. I'm heartbroken for Matt. He is my dear friend and partner." The world saw her professionalism, but internally, she was shattered, processing betrayal, confusion, and the collapse of a partnership she'd trusted. She had to lead today through its darkest crisis while grieving a friendship and grappling with the knowledge that someone she'd trusted had caused such harm. No time to process, no space to grieve. Just cameras and millions of eyes demanding answers she didn't have. It is heartbreaking when the person who tells everyone else's painful stories becomes the story herself. At 54, Savannah Guthrie still rises at 3:30 a.m. to anchor Today. Her vision, miraculously, has held both retinal surgeries successful. Though she admits to moments of panic whenever anything comes near her eyes, she lives in New York City with Michael and their children, Vale, now 10, and Charlie, now 8. Her estimated net worth stands at approximately $30 million. Built over decades of relentless work, but the money isn't what sustains her anymore. It's the morning routine with her kids before the sun rises, the bedtime stories after impossibly long days, the realization that vision, both literal and metaphorical, is a gift that can vanish in a heartbeat. She's become an advocate for eye health and safety, speaking openly about her injuries to raise awareness. Her vulnerability has transformed her relationship with viewers. They don't just see a polished anchor anymore. They see a mother who nearly lost her sight, a professional who kept showing up when everything hurt. She balances for AM alarm clocks with school pickups, presidential interviews with scraped knees. In 2024, she celebrated her 13th year as Today co-anchor. Extraordinary longevity in an industry that devours people. Recent projects include her children's book, Princesses Wear Pants, co-written with Allison Oppenheim, teaching girls about strength beyond stereotypes, the lessons from her mother's resilience, her own medical emergencies, and navigating public scandal now infuse everything she creates. She's found peace not in perfection, but in acceptance. Acceptance that life throws toy, trains and tree branches without warning. Acceptance that you can do everything right and still face catastrophe. Acceptance that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's the truest form of courage. At 54, Savannah Guthrie stands as proof that strength isn't about never breaking. It's about choosing to rebuild every single time, even when your vision is literally blurred and the path forward is uncertain. From Melbourne, Australia to Tucson, Arizona to the most watched morning show in America. From law school graduate to $10 million per year journalist. From devastating eye injuries to still asking the questions that matter. Still showing up at 3:30 a.m. Still holding it together when everything hurts. Behind the Today Show desk sits a warrior who understands that every morning is a gift. That sight is precious, that the stories we tell matter because our own stories are so beautifully, terribly fragile. If this story touched your heart, leave a tribute below. Share a moment when Savannah Guthrie's grace under impossible pressure, her honest vulnerability, or her unwavering presence reminded you that resilience isn't about being unbreakable. It's about putting yourself back together and showing up anyway, even when the whole world is watching. This is Savannah Guthrie, journalist, mother, survivor, still rising, still seeing, still telling the truth.